A lot of you guys have to get over this fascination with a G5 team being able to win a national championship in college football, because it's never going to happen. You will never see another 2011 Boise State or another 2022 Cincinnati. Why? Because of the transfer portal and the NIL. I went to FAU. And anytime I talk to any of the players, when I ask them about their future, if another Power 5 school offered them, like a Alabama or Clemson, threw some money at them, would they stay at FAU? Would they remain loyal? And you know what they all told me? Hell no, I'm going to go to whichever one of those power programs in the bigger conferences gives me a bigger bag. The G5 has been set up for death with the new era of college football, with the NIL, name, image, and likeness in the transfer portal. Anytime a G5 school like my beloved Florida Atlantic Owls has a great player, they're always going to end up getting bought up by a bigger program. And that's why it's going to be hard to find another 2011 Boise State or another 2020 Cincinnati, because those schools were as good as what they were at the time, because although they weren't getting 5- and 4-star guys out of high school, they were getting guys that fit their scheme and what they wanted from the culture of their program. They were good culture fits. They developed them for 2 to 3 years, and then they developed into really good players, which is why Cincinnati had several players on that 2020 college football playoff team that are in the NFL. Sauce Gardner, Desmond Ridder, Kobe Bryant, Jerome Ford. You're not going to find a lot of G5 teams in today's age of college football that have 6 high-level NFL caliber players, because most of the times when they end up getting that kind of recognition, they're going to hit the portal and go to a bigger school. The dreams of seeing a G5 team be able to hoist the national title are over. That's why they're considering making a G5 college football playoffs, to make them actually feel like they're competing for something, because name, image, and likeness in the transfer portal are going to kill the G5. And a lot of you didn't think about this when you were going to war for NIL to become a thing, players being able to make money off their name. You didn't think about this when you said that you wanted players to get paid. All you thought was that it would make things less easier for schools like Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia, who already have a chokehold on college football. When all is done, it's make things more easier than what it already is. Ohio State paid $20 million in total this offseason for the roster that they're going to be putting on the field this year. Texas can buy up all the good players that they need if they have a dire hole at a particular position. Same thing with Alabama or Georgia. These group of 5 schools don't have the access to the cash flow or the resources that these bigger schools have in order to be able to compete for a national championship. And a lot of you folks, came at Josh Pate a certain kind of way, because he kind of said it himself. The G5, putting them in the 12-team college football playoffs, pretty much just a waste of everybody's time, because they're not going to have a shot to beat any school that they play in the playoffs in the first round, because the talent gap is going to be so big. And even if you do have a few players or two, they're going to end up just getting bribed and tampered with to go to other programs. And I'm already seeing, players that I went to school with at FAU, like LaJohntay Western. He transferred, left FAU, and went to Colorado. Colorado only won 4 games last year. But it's an upgrade because you're getting more exposure. Your games are always going to be nationally televised. You're playing under Deion Sanders, which is why going from a G5 to a P4 team is seen as an upgrade. A lot of people aren't caring about, being the first player to help contribute to a G5 school making history, winning the national championship. They care about getting paid and going to the program that gives them the best chance to make it to the NFL. The G5 has now been put at a disadvantage where they already were at a significant disadvantage before the NIL and transfer portal era because of the lack of resources and funding that they had. But now you make it even more difficult for them to even put a team on the field that's capable of having a 2-possession loss to a Oregon or Ohio State, because now they can just steal their best players pretty much. The NIL and transfer portal era of college football that we're in right now is going to be the death of the group of 5, which is why we need to get this fascination of a G5 team potentially knocking off Alabama for the national championship, because it's never going to freaking happen. College football is destroying the G5. The G5 will never have a team capable of being able to go toe-to-toe with Ohio State, Oregon, or any other of the top schools in college football. And you can say, any given weekend, JT, you don't know what can happen. That's not going to happen anymore. Get realistic. The best coaches in the G5, what are they going to do? They're going to end up taking the promotion to a bigger program that has more access to resources, because it's way harder to win coaching at a school like Boise State and FAU now than what it used to be a decade ago, because anytime you get some good players, they always go elsewhere. They go to greener pastures. Winning in the G5 was already tough, but now it's even tougher because you can't keep your best players. No matter what you do, your best players are always going to go to a bigger school. And that's why you're never going to see another Boise State or Cincinnati ever again. The G5 has no shot to win a national championship. And I know it sounds harsh, but it's just the truth that we have to accept now with the new reality of college football. College football is not college basketball. Stop thinking that. In college basketball, you can still win a natty not having an insanely talented team, because you got a good coach that has a good system, a good infrastructure. And there's way less players on the basketball court that impact the outcome of a game than there are football teams. You know, there are 11 players on the field, both sides of the ball at a time. And when you have the better, more superior athletes, 9 times out of 10, you're always going to end up winning, especially when you're going up against coaches like Kalen DeBoer, Kirby Smart, Steve Sarkisian. These G5 schools don't have a chance in hell of being able to win a national championship. We got to stop acting like they do, which is why they shouldn't get a guaranteed spot in the 12-team college football playoffs. You may be able to be competitive in the first round if you're going up against a team from the ACC or the Big 12, but you go up against a team from the Big 10 like Ohio State, Oregon in the first round, you're going to get blown the hell out. It's not going to be close. G5 teams are as bad as what they've ever been due to their talent being stolen from them. Unless you have a school like FAU that can get more alumni dollars, they can improve their NIL backing to the point where maybe they get to a level where they may not be able to go toe-to-toe with Georgia from a talent standpoint, but at least they can give them a competitive game. But there just is a big detriment to the G5 going on right now with their players getting stolen. You got NIL where you pretty much can bribe players to say, hey, bro, don't stay at FAU anymore. We're offering you $150,000 if you come play for us at Ohio State. I get you want to be loyal, but the money's good, bro. The most they can give you is like $10,000. That's it. They don't have a lot of money to give out. So the G5 is done. We need to stop thinking that there's a chance we're ever going to see Boise State 2011 or 2020 Cincinnati, because those days are over, my brothers. NIL and transfer portal have ruined that dream. Shout out to everybody that tuned in to this episode of JT Sports Live. I appreciate every one of you guys. Shout out to my guy, Robert Turner. He says, JT, if there was a 12-team playoff when Boise State and Utah beat the unbeatable, we all could have a different narrative on college football, period. Yeah, that's back then before you had the transfer portal and NIL. Now players are going to follow the money. You're not going to have a Boise State or Utah anymore. And Utah's lucky enough they got to the point that they are now, because if they were still considered to be a G5 program, it would be a lot harder for them to sustain the level of success they've had because of, the stigma that comes around them being a power program. People got to accept the fact that with the way college football is now being ran by money, G5 schools don't have access to that kind of money. What about the schools in the MAC? Bowling Green, Toledo, Ohio. Those schools are never going to have a shot at winning a national championship because they may not even get any funding at all. Hell, a few years ago, FIU was barely able to afford uniforms, practice jerseys. You feel me? 2020, schools lost money supplying football. It's a different era now. And we got to accept that. We got to stop thinking that. You see, one of the toughest lessons that I had to learn in life is that life isn't fair. The road to somebody being successful may not be as difficult as what your path to being successful is. And not everybody can have the ability to become a billionaire, rather it be situation, mindset, your family heritage, growing up in a bad environment. It's just, in life, sometimes people are just born to win. And in college football, it's like that. Some programs are just born to dominate. And in the G5, you're just born to, be good at the G5 level. But once you get to the Power 5 level, it's just a different ball game. And resources matter. And if you don't have good resources, it becomes crazy hard to go up against these Power 5 programs.